has been about 3 months since I've started using this Simpex RGB LED light continuously, and I still get quite a bit of questions from some of you who are interested that is it still working, are there any issues that you found with this. So I thought I'll make an update video of using this for about 3 months, approximately around 2 to 3 times a week, and each time I've been using this continuously for a minimum of around 30 minutes. So yeah, I have some observations, so I think you'll find it interesting. Now, to answer that question, yeah, it absolutely works. It still works just fine. As you can see, it holds charge fine, and I still use it on every single one of my videos. If you go back on the channel and see some older videos, you'll see that this will be lighting the background. So it's still a really nice looking light. It's for about 4,000 rupees. You can't really go wrong with this. But that's not to say it doesn't have any issues. So let's get to the first one that I've noticed. Now, if you remember when I unboxed this thing for the first time, the display on the back here, which turns on when you switch on the light, this wasn't working in my first unit. So I had to get it replaced, and now the replacement unit works fine. But I noticed that pretty much all of these units have a problem, or not exactly a problem, but kind of a incompatibility with the glue around this diffusion layer. So as soon as the light gets very hot, the glue starts getting off from one of these corners, as you can see. I mean, it's not a huge issue. You can push them in still, but still, I mean, it does kind of warp like this after a while because this thing gets very hot after using it. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, the diffusion layer on the top is not securely placed, and the glue around it, depending on your unit, may start to kind of let go of the diffusion layer after a while. So keep that in mind. Now, talking about the actual heat, yeah, I do like that this thing is entirely made of metal, so it cools up pretty fast, but it heats up quite fast as well. So since the internal heat from the battery, as we saw from my previous videos, they are using thermal pads on the battery to kind of dissipate the heat outside. So they are using this layer, basically this metal plate, to dissipate the heat out to the environment, which is fine. This plate is very thin and it cools down fast. But these edges are another story entirely. They are pretty thick, and even though they feel very nice to the touch, they are metal, but they retain their heat for a very long time. So even after you have stopped using this thing continues to be very warm. In fact, sometimes it gets so hot it's practically uncomfortable to hold. Like, you cannot touch this sometimes because it's boiling hot. Like, literally, I don't have any temperature gun with me, but I'm pretty sure that these edges get around say 55 degree or 60 degree Celsius when you have continuously been using this for an hour or so. So yeah, be careful. If you continuously use this for an hour at max brightness like this, then yeah, it's gonna get really hot. So don't immediately go and touch it with your hand. Just switch it off and wait for it to cool down. Now, the battery on this, as they say it on the body itself, is around 4,000 milliamp hours, which is a nice and large capacity lithium-ion battery, and it's rechargeable via USB-C, as we know. There's also a USB-A port, which is a 5-volt output port, so you can charge something like your earphone with this port. I've never used it like that, but since this thing is meant to be a portable light, I guess you can use it to charge your earphones when you're on the go. But yeah, if you're going to be using this thing with the brightness slider cranked all the way to the maximum, then don't expect anything more than 1.5 hours of usage. In fact, it kind of tells you how much battery you can expect out of this once it gets the idea of the the brightness and stuff. So right now it's saying, you can see I'm almost at half battery percentage, and it's only saying I have about 35 minutes, which is accurate actually, because the LEDs that this thing has are actually pretty powerful. You can even take a look, because the layer is kind of eroding, right? So you can kind of see the size of those LEDs. They are almost a little bit smaller than the LED bulbs that you have on your wall there. So they too take a lot of power. And of course, not to mention, this thing gets really bright. I am really impressed with one of those factors about this thing, that it gets very bright for the form factor that it comes in. Right now I'm at just 2% brightness, and even though my camera's exposure has been all the way set to low, you still can't see the LEDs because they're that bright. I mean, my eyes aren't hurting as much, but yeah, for a camera, these are more than enough. But again, since this thing gets so bright and also gets very hot, it kind of digs into the battery life as well. So because of the heat, the lithium-ion battery kind of behaves in a very weird way, and it kind of drops quickly. The same thing happens with your phone as well, right? Sometimes when your phone is very hot, the battery indication doesn't show properly until it cools down a bit. Even though the thermal management has been done pretty well, with the back metal plate acting as a heatsink, it still only gives you 1.5 hours of continuous usage when you're cranking it to the max brightness. And I've noticed that the result is pretty much the same whether you're in RGB mode or in normal white light mode. It has those cool effects like the TV screen effect, which gradually increases or decreases the brightness, kind of gives you an effect of something that's happening on a display. It also has the camera flash mimic thing, or a fast flash thing. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool and creative additions if you're planning on getting some light effects in your movie or something. But I personally never use them that much. I only use it as a RGB backlight, as I mentioned, so that it works pretty great for that. And yeah, like I mentioned, this diffusion layer can be pushed back in. It's something that you have to do each time. I've noticed that there is no reliable way of doing this every single time. Like, see, now it's fine, but the next time I turn it on and keep it on for say around 10 to 15 minutes, once it gets hot, the glue once again rises up and the layer pops back off. In the first thing that I got before the replacement, I think that same issue was here in between the in the middle part of this diffuser, but now in the replacement part it's over here. So not sure if you buy it where you will find your issue, or maybe you get lucky and you don't have any issues with yours. But like I said, it's not a huge thing. It's not a problem with the LED itself. It's just a plastic thing that's on front. So even if it pops off, you can easily fit it back with your own glue. So that's not a huge deal for me. I mean, I favor portability and USB recharging over everything else. Like I mentioned many times before, I love devices that are rechargeable via USB. So, single cable solution. I can charge my phone, earphones, and this with a single cable. So that's really nice for me. I don't like separate batteries and stuff that have their own connector and things like that. So even if the battery life is a little bit less, I like the compact form factor, and I really think this is worth the purchase. Well, let me know if you have any further questions on this product. Those are my thoughts after using this for 3 months on the battery life and the heating issues things. I still think it's a pretty good purchase, and there aren't many devices out there, I mean, in this price range that can give you these many features. It's made pretty well for the price, and I'm not sure about other things. I haven't tried any other USB lights. I mean, I got this and I was happy and I just stuck with it. So if you have anything else that you would like me to try or compare to this thing, then definitely let me know. I'll check it out. But yeah, until next time, go out there with your camera and shoot something. Cheers.